I can think of two right off the bat, and that's that you have to hire the unqualified, and that goals or quotas, and maybe 3, you have to give preferences. And you see this being played out. You hear managers saying to other employees, I would love to promote you, but I need a minority or I need a woman in that role. And it's because they don't understand that these regulations are not about discrimination or preferences. They're about inclusion, affirmative action, and non-discrimination, regardless of race, ethnicity, or gender.
The week does not go by that I don't see a blog from a major law firm or a major human resources consulting firm confusing these two as though they were synonymous terms when they're quite distinct activities of compliance for the contractors. In fact, we find other listing companies that have this confusion. I find that people confuse adverse impact with disparity analyses quite frequently, including very reputable large law firms. This is a highly complex, highly technical area, and increasingly so. But it's just about the details so often. A third one that I just mentioned in a session here a moment ago is the widespread misconception that OFCCP requires good faith efforts in the Section 503 and the 4212 regulations, when they were very clear that they did not believe in good faith efforts. Rather, they have a totally different prescription for 503 and for 4212 as to how contractors should go about the business of affirmative action, different from the way we did it for 30 years under Executive Order 11246 as to minorities and women.
I honestly would recommend that every single one of our members get on our pipeline, and it's a member-only piece of our website, and we have a whole section on OFCCP compliance, on our partners. We have a federal contractor corner. We do a week in review. We do compliance tips. We have all sorts of archives of every webinar we've ever done. We provide the PowerPoint slides. We provide recordings. We provide all sorts of very, very good information.
First, be prepared. And what that means is knowing what your data and your personnel practices will say about you. Data tells the story. Practices tell how the story came about. They're very different than a policy that you think you may have in place. And above all, if it is your very first audit, seek qualified and proven representation to help you through it.
The other thing I would add to that is that OFCCP in the real world just absolutely feasts on contractors converting from being an employer to a federal contractor, because that conversion is very difficult for most of them. There's a lot of new systems and a lot of new documentation and a lot of new training that has to go along with that. And OFCCP will really find a lot of compliance problems with those newly minted federal contractors because they don't have their systems in place. And it's probably going to take, even with good advice from outside consultants who have been there, done that, a good year or two to get the system really refined to a point that they can be confident that they're, quote, in compliance.